everybody. I'm Glenn Kennedy, along with my co-host Charles Motz.
Glad to be here today.
Welcome back to Barn Talk. How you doing this morning, Charles?
Good, good. I think the heat's going to break, but some people say it's going to get worse. I don't know if it could get worse. So we'll see.
It's pretty warm
It's
today.
pretty warm, yes.
I was looking, Charles. I wanted to talk about how the city was going to change its name back in 1949.
Yeah, that was interesting. You know what? They were just tired of the name, and also they were criticized by Bob Hope, wasn't it?
Yeah. So how it started back in 1943 during the Second World War, the city wanted to disincorporate, and the reason why is because of the taxes. You paid fewer taxes in the county than you did for the city, and they took it to vote, and the residents turned it down. However, West Covina had the bad name because of the speed trap. So go ahead, Charles. Tell us what you know about the speed trap.
Oh, the speed trap. Bob Hope announced on his television program several times, because he got a ticket coming down Kellogg's Hill, that West Covina was nothing but a speed trap. Well, you know, we could say that, but it sure filled the coffers. And what they did is they just put a speed limit on the Garvey and San Bernardino Freeway, but Garvey at that time, and they hired a policeman. Remember, you couldn't be a policeman without owning your own motorcycle. But that wouldn't work out too well, because he couldn't write enough tickets. But a policeman can stop you, and they can deputize a citizen to write the ticket, and then the policeman could go on and stop somebody else. And he could have 3 or 4 people lined up on either side of the freeway writing tickets. And it saved a lot of lives. El Monte didn't allow any on and off ramps. And of course, they'd get going pretty fast through El Monte, and they'd hit West Covina, and also coming down Kellogg's Hill. And you paid your fine right there. At that time, you could pay a fine, or you could go in front of the judge. And believe me, it was not a pleasant thing to go in front of the judge.
So which judge was that?
I think it was Martin at that time. He was a Covina boy, and he became a judge. And he didn't like to be bothered about these things. He felt that you were speeding, and that was pretty well it. And if he saw you several times, you'd be picking up trash off the freeway, or be somewhere else, which we don't want to talk about. And if you were a teenager, you were in serious trouble. So you better pay your fine to the deputy, the sworn deputy, and just move on and forget your losses. And I want to let you know, it didn't matter if you were a citizen of West Covina, Covina, or El Monte. You got a ticket. And, you know, when you're talking about us becoming part of the county, remember, when you had a fire in your house, you called Covina Fire Department, which is pretty sound, and you called Baldwin Park. Baldwin Park was pretty well volunteer too. But West Covina didn't have one, and you still hoped somebody would show up. You didn't know if you were going to show up or not, but they did. So, but that's about the. Do you think we really were a speed trap?
Yes,
I do.
I kind of actually think it's scandalous that you would get pulled over, and you'd have a deputized a resident who was now a city clerk, and you had you got to give him cash for a ticket right then and there. I don't even think that's legal.
Well, that was brought up at one time, and the answer was, well, you can go Valley Boulevard.
You can go Valley Boulevard,
and you don't have to come through West Covina. And now there was a speed trap. I call it a speed trap, but it was very necessary. But they did milk it quite a bit at Merced and Orange.
Oh, yeah, that's coming down the bridge.
Coming down the bridge.
Okay.
The bridge went up high. So you go over the bridge and you start down. I mean, you went right down. Mm-hmm. But you had to stop. There was a stop sign there, because traffic coming on Orange going south would have to go down the wash and really get up speed to get over it. And when you came over the hump, you were on Orange, but you were right there also on Merced. So there was a policeman there most of the time, or you never knew, of course, and some people claim that was a speed trap too.
Wow.
So I don't know.
Well, I know there's still feels like there's a speed trap still in Irwindale.
Yeah.
You go down Sunset, it turns into Irwindale Avenue. You go from 45 to 40 to 35, and that's a major throwaway to get to the freeway. There's got to be 7 or 8 cities that everybody takes to get to the 210 freeway, and everybody going to work or coming home from work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too kind to that. I've had a couple tickets. I got a ticket when my granddaughter was being born. I was rushing up to the hospital and I was doing 48 and a 40 or whatever, and the guy gave me a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just how it goes sometimes.
Yes. And I guess they filled the coffers that way.
I don't even get me going on that.
Yeah.
So back to Bob Hope. So Bob Hope slammed us on his radio. It was his radio show back then, and he slammed us, and so we actually got a bad reputation. So what he called us was a speed trap in a walnut grove.
Yes.
That's what he actually said, and it gave us a bad name. So after the war, they got together, and a lot of things led to it, but they wanted to change the name, and it had to do with having a bad reputation of being a speed trap.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Chamber of Commerce. There was no downtown. There was no business district.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to start fresh. So they had a contest, and West Covina Beautiful used to was like the big organization back then. So they had a contest, and they came up with names like Sunkiss for Sunkiss Village,
Mm-hmm.
Lark Allen after the great opera singer, Lark Haven, and then they finally came up with Fleetwood, and Fleetwood was the prefix number of the area back then. Just like Edgewood High School across the street was named after the prefix number too.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So they did that, and then they had the vote, and it passed. 701 people voted, 390 to 311. It passed by 80 votes or so. But the astonishing thing is, it was a 98% turnout. So 98% of the residents of West Covina turned out to vote. Can you imagine that?
Can you
today?
imagine that?
Wow,
Wow.
that's pretty amazing.
It is, and voting was done in people's homes. So there were certain homes you went to, and you voted there, and it was a long process. But that is amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
So, getting back to the speed trap, Charles. So, they built Stark's Steakhouse there on Hollenbeck and the 10th Street.
Yes.
And it was a pretty famous steakhouse. So, instead of racing through West Covina, they could just stop and have themselves a lunch or a dinner. It'd be cheaper than the damn ticket.
That's right. You had to look at things like that.
Yeah,
because,
and so they stopped there, and that's what they did.
Do you know what was they cut you down to about 25 or 30 miles an hour? Was that?
Yeah, you went from maybe 40 or 50 to like 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
I drive through Sparks, Reno through Sparks, and you get on the main road there, 95, you can go 80 miles an hour. But you come to a little city and it has a sign, 15 miles an hour.
And when it says 15, they mean 15.
15, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like creeping through, and then you got back to 85 or 70, but same idea, I guess. But it saved a lot of lives because that San Bernardino freeway, or the Garvey at that time, between El Monte and West Covina, through West Covina up through Kellogg's Hill, that was a dangerous road. A lot of people got hurt and killed on that. So it was, in some way, it was good they slowed them down, because it was an open field. I mean, there was orange trees and walnuts on both sides, and it was dark, and it wasn't.
It was very dark here. People don't. It's not what it is today. It was, like you said, it was scary quiet.
Scary quiet, yeah.
There was no street light. There was nothing. It was just dark.
Dark.
Yeah.
And lights weren't good. You could hear the lions roaring in El Monte, right? Or the circus going down the road, like Mrs. Cran said, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And no, you were in the middle of orange groves, and it was a thoroughfare, so it would, people would get going too fast. That's all there was to it.
Yeah.
But it was.
Well, I was going to tell you also on the name change. In 1907, 1906, 1908, and that era, we were called Pumpkin Center.
Yeah.
And then we became Walnut Center.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years later, in 23, when we incorporated, we became West Covina. And so we were going to become called Fleetwood. So, but we stuck it out. We're 100 years old this year, and we're still West Covina.
Still West Covina.
Pretty amazing, right?
It sure is, and we're a beautiful city too.
Yes.
So our founding fathers did the right thing, no matter what.
So back then, we ended up having a Chamber of Commerce came in the 40s, and then we built Glendora Avenue. When did Glendora get built? The late 40s or
40s? Yeah, I'd say about the 40s. Would you?
I don't know. I wasn't around.
Yeah,
but at least sometime in the 50s.
Yeah.
But Glendora Avenue was not built as a downtown. It was just built as a business district.
That's all. Just take care of the community.
Yeah. Covina had the downtown. You go down Citrus, and you went, and you could go all the way down, and it went through. Well, Glendora didn't go through.
That's
it
right.
ended at Garvey, or the freeway, and then you could actually get on the on ramp there on Garvey. You get off and you get on, only on the one side.
Yes, that's right.
And then I remember before they redid the freeways in the 70s, there was a pedestrian bridge.
There was.
I remember riding my bike over to Caesar's Burger.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot about that. Yes.
And they took that down, which was a shame. I don't know why they took that down.
Yeah, that was kind of a nice thing to have both sides. Yeah, you're right. We never had a real downtown. It was just kind of, That
but it wasn't. The city wasn't designed to have a downtown.
No.
And I think that was a huge mistake.
Yes.
Every city needs its downtown.
It does. It does have. See, because even on the other side of the freeway, the north side,
There's nothing but houses.
Nothing but houses.
Yeah.
And basically, what we have now and what was there, it was just to serve.
And that's all that's left.
Yeah.
The other part, they already demolished.
They demolished.
They built the lakes and they built that when they had that. Remember Old Harry Hill?
Oh yeah.
And the West Covina Auto Parts, Boatland. We had Caesars. We had Snyder's Meat Market. The Greyhound bus station was there. The original 31 Flavors was there. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of business there.
Yes.
The Kawasaki dealer. It was a shame that they leveled that and built that, because that's really. I'm sorry, Charles, really never worked out.
Yeah.
I think they built it backwards.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
You can't see that from the freeway except the parking structure.
And if they left Boatland, maybe they would eventually sold boats.
Huh? Eventually sold the boat, wouldn't they?
Yeah. But you're right. It just kind of, there isn't anything really in there that helps the public that much.
No.
There's some nice things, but not that much.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
And but maybe someday they'll change it back and get it going again.
Well, as you go, the city changes every 30, 40, 50 years. You can see, I've seen it myself, so the stuff that's here today won't be here in 40, 50 years.
That's right.
They'll redo it and reinvent itself.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
It'll come back, and there's some businesses coming back now, so I think it'll be fine.
I sure hope so.
Yes. And,
well, do you have anything else?
No. I wish Bob Hoke would have been nicer to us, but he wasn't. I liked him anyway, so it won't matter, will it? He was good.
Yeah. He used to rib my grandfather, who was an old-time movie star, so they knew each other pretty well.
Yeah.
So I heard a lot of inside info on that. We'll get into that another time. So with that, Charles, I want to say thank you.
And thank you for having me.
And have a nice day. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a good day.